The Bloody Hook. A group of teenagers met up one evening after school. They often liked to drive to the forest at the edge of town and hang out. Also on the edge of town was the state prison. The teenagers often liked to strain their eyes from the cover of the forest to see if they could see prisoners out in the yard. Tonight, however, it was far too foggy to see anything. The friends passed the time tossing stones and chatting, and little by little, the sun began to set. The fog began to grow even thicker, and as it did, it got colder. The friends no longer wanted to stay out in the chilly woods, but they weren't yet ready to go home either. So they piled back inside the car. The oldest friend, who owned the car, was quick to lock the doors as soon as everyone had entered. At this, two other boys in the group started to poke fun at him. Trying to keep a boogeyman out? One laughed. Afraid of getting carjacked all the way out here? The other chided. It's just a habit my mom taught me. I don't even really think about it, the driver huffed. Well, I think it's a good idea, one of the girls in the group said. Yeah, added the other. Besides, it's getting dark and scary out here. Let's go home. But the majority of the group shouted that they weren't ready to leave yet and continued to talk and laugh loudly in the car. Every now and then, one of them would check their phone, hoping for reception. That far out of town, it was always spotty. While the group laughed and played, the cautious girl grew silent. She had been staring out into the fog for a while now, and could have sworn she saw a figure moving in the mist. She spoke up and told the group about this, but they just laughed and poked fun at her, so she grew silent again. She continued to stare into the fog in the forest beyond, but did not see the figure again. A few more minutes passed, and the girl still remained quiet. Something was bothering her. Every so often, when the car grew especially loud with shouts or laughter, she could swear she heard something else. Scratch, scratch, scratch. Do you guys hear that? She shouted, but no one else in the group had. Again, they laughed at her. And again, she could swear that as the group got louder, the quiet scratching sound would start up again. She grew more and more frightened, just wanting to go home. But the rest of the group was still having fun and would not listen to her. That is, until they all heard the sudden blare of air sirens. Through the dense fog, in the direction of a prison, bright searchlights were shining. Finally, the rest of the group shared the girl's fear. Deciding that it was now officially time to go home, the driver slammed his foot on the pedal, and they tore out of the forest and back onto the main road that led back into town. About 10 minutes later, they had pulled into the driveway of one of their homes, and the whole group poured out of the car, nervously chattering about what had happened. As the last friend exited the car, they reached out to close the door behind them, but suddenly screamed. There, hanging from the door handle, was a bloody metal hook. The group looked on in horror, but before they could properly react, their phones started buzzing with an emergency alert. Warning: a notorious murderer has escaped the state prison. He is armed with a sharp metal hook for a hand. Call the police if you spot anything suspicious. The cautious girl then remembered the odd sound in the forest. Scratch, scratch, scratch. She was suddenly very, very glad they had locked the car doors.